All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, May 12th. We got an 11-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment.
All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel.
I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3, 4 more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new.
So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right?
If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of how we did yesterday, squeaked out a decent day. Now, I will say it looks a little bit better than it is, too, because a lot of those plays were pretty juiced that we ended up cashing on. But this could have gone, multiple ways. A lot of those spots were pretty damn sweaty. But we will take the slight green day nonetheless. In fact, that Pirates' first 5 team total looked good for a few innings. I was excited about that. Pivetta to record a win. I think it was worth the flyer and worth the value that we got. But Padres ended up getting smoked. And we got comments being like, how could you even think Pivetta's going to get a win? Colorado beat them. And it's like, yeah, it's pretty easy to say that after the game. How about when the Padres put up football scores against them in the previous 2 games, right? And then we had the Rangers and Tigers first 5 under. We've played that multiple times in the series, and unfortunately, it was a negative correlated type of thing that we had over and over again. But still, like I said, we can take a little bit of pride in the positive day yesterday, but looks a little bit better. It's 5-3, but again, those plays are really juice, and I'm all about kind of being honest that, yeah, that was kind of just like a middling day, slightly green there. But what do you say we jump into today's slate, guys? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking here. Starting off with Cleveland taking on Milwaukee. Ben Lively on the mound for Cleveland, going up against Freddie Peralta. Ben Lively's actually had a decent little go in his recent starts. He has a few blow-up starts, but also 3 of his last 4 starts, he's let either 1 or 0 runs in scored, which is pretty damn good. And Peralta has been good. I mean, he out of his last 4 starts, 2 of them 0 earned runs through 5 and 6 innings. I would say there is a pitching advantage on the Milwaukee side of things, but be careful with Peralta's away numbers. He's got a FIP of 505, a walk rate of nearly 12%. His strikeout rate's still good. His average against is still good. His whip jumps to 122. So there are some things that I'd be concerned with there. But ultimately, I would say that he is in a spot that's not as good as we would just expect him to be, especially given the fact that he is a righty. There's a bunch of switch hitters in this Cleveland lineup going to be batting lefty today. He's really good against righties, kind of struggles against lefties. So I think that there could be a spot to lean towards Cleveland here. I don't know if I fully get there myself, but I'm a big Freddie Peralta guy. I just don't think that this is the best situation for him. Now, that being said, he has some really good numbers against the current squad that plays here on the Guardians. When I mean that, I say the current squad, it means the current players that make up the team. If they played for another team and, played against Freddie Peralta, it counts towards these numbers. 32 plate appearances against, 28.1% K rate, pretty good. 6.3% walk rate, pretty good. Average against goal of 167, WOBA of 204, expected WOBA 251. So, like I said, he's got some good numbers against them, but in theory, some of these numbers in terms of lefty-righty splits don't look all that great. So for the plus money, I'd lean Cleveland. Don't know if I necessarily get there myself after they played a late game against Philly yesterday, but they are still home, so maybe that kind of counts for something. In terms of where we go from a total perspective, though Ben Lively has been good, I almost feel like he could be a ticking time bomb. I don't want to put that out there and then all of a sudden, we lean Cleveland and Milwaukee crushes him and we screw one side of the thing that we might be looking at. But I do think he's due for a little regression. I'm going to lean over in this spot. I think the Guardians can get to Peralta to some degree. At least he'll get some guys on base, especially with walks and whatnot. And then secondarily, I do think that Ben Lively, like I said, little bit of a regression spot coming from him. So give me Cleveland in the over. Keep an eye on the final plays to see what we get down, because both of those, you could argue the other side of both of those leans and have some just arguments if I'm being completely transparent. Moving on, we're looking at Detroit taking on the Red Sox. Red Sox coming off of a pretty good series against Kansas City, right? They win 2 of 3. Now, is it all that impressive? No, Kansas City kind of showed their true colors. They scored 2, 1, and 1. Detroit coming off of what I would consider a pretty bad series, though. This is a team that has been getting a lot of praise for their offense, and even me kind of came around on them right at the beginning of the year. I was like, I don't really believe in this offense. And then they scored a boatload of runs in Colorado, which go figure. And they have a really bad 2, 3, and 1 run scored series against Texas. Maybe they're kind of coming back down to earth? Question mark. I would say that this is a pick'em, and guess what? The odds kind of justify that, right? It's essentially being a pick'em. When you look at it from a pitcher perspective, you have Jackson Jobe going up against Tanner Houck. I'd also kind of put these guys into a similar boat as well. I know it's kind of annoying and I'm kind of on the fence here, but Jackson Jobe has plenty of talent. I do think that he is very good. That said, he doesn't really have the season to prove that, right? He's coming off a really bad start. It was in Colorado though, but 3 2/3, 8 hits, 6 earned run, 2 home runs. Again, in Coors, you can justify it, but still, Colorado needs to hit the ball for the elevation to matter, and they did, right? Tanner Houck has started to kind of shape into form, but he still hasn't really fully been able to locate his 2 main pitches, the sinker and the sweeper/slider. So a little worried about that, but what I will say here is that Houck's slider could be pretty damn beneficial to use today, as Detroit ranks just 24th, so 6th worst against the slider. And again, his is more of a sweeper, so it's a little bit slower, but still essentially categorized as that pitch, and moves a similar way. I don't think that they necessarily hit it, so they're not the best at that. They do hit the sinker well, but at least he should force a decent amount of ground balls. So, yeah, I'm going to lean Red Sox. They are on the road. They are a pretty good road team, just historically this year. I think that they're like 11-11 on the road, so nothing crazy or not anything to write home about. But I don't mind this spot. But if you're on Detroit, again, and I hate to go Milwaukee, Cleveland, kind of give you, a half-assed, on the fence type answer and do the same thing here. But it is true. Like, these are 2 kind of pick 'em type spots. And Detroit, I would say, if you want to make the argument that their offense should be able to hit Tanner Houck because of the sinker, they'll get guys on base. They are at home, in which they have a very good record at home this year. Sure, you can make that argument. I would say that the Red Sox lineup looks like it's kind of making big swings and big plays when it needs to. They're going up against a kid who hasn't fully looked like, the pitcher we think he's going to look like. He's going to throw a ton of fastballs as well. I think it makes up like 1/3 of his pitch mix. And the Red Sox hit fastballs pretty damn well. Also, that top of the order, Duran, Devers, and Bregman, and as well as Willie Abreu, actually, their OPS all are fantastic against the right-handed pitching, and they hit fastballs well. So, yeah, all that to be said, I maybe think that there could be an over situation here, because maybe the Tigers do get to that sinker, and if they do hit the slider well, or Houck doesn't locate the slider well, probably get some guys on base. Tigers at home, not exactly the worst spot. They've won 74% of their games at home this year, so they're going to score some runs. And again, I don't think Jobe's going to go out there and just shut up the Red Sox. So maybe we look at 8.5, and that's the move. One play that I am considering, and I've played it before, and we've cashed it before. He's not really played much for the Red Sox this year. In fact, he just came over here, but I like Abraham Toro here, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. This is kind of just solely because I don't think that he's good, and I know that that's like not exactly the best reason, but he isn't good, and we're getting -112, -113 odds on his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I'm thinking that Jobe can at least kind of suppress him. If this is an over game where a bunch of runs are scored, I worry, but again, who knows if he's even going to be on base, and even if he is, he's not like he's a burner, right? And he's only playing because Romy Gonzalez is hurt. So yeah, I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. All right, Philadelphia taking on St. Louis. This is one where I do feel could be a final play. An immediate peek at the over. We do have Chris Sanchez on the mound, who I would say is good, and honestly has a good season this year in general. Usually it's like good season at home for him, and sometimes struggles on the road. He's just been good in general. Going up against Matthew Liberatore, who's also been very, very good. But the problem is, and what I see here is the fact that we're going to get, not exactly the best pitch mix from Sanchez to face this St. Louis team. He's going to throw a lot of sinkers, sure. They don't hit the sinker all that well, but they will hit it for average, not for power. But then the changeup and the slider could be good pitches for St. Louis to get on base and get some runs through. You throw it over to Liberatore, he's going to throw, the slider, but if you look at anything with some speed, so I'm talking fastball, cutter, anything like that, this Philadelphia team should be able to hit. So we're sitting at a total of 8 right now. If you can get an 8, and if you can get an 8, I think that is worth considering, because I believe there's 8.5s on the board out there right now as well. So yeah, kind of like the spot here for at least 8 runs to come in with that push potential. If we can buy down and get 7.5 for anything in the minus 120s, that might be something that I consider as well. So St. Louis has hit the over, say 7.5 just to make it easy right now, 59% of the games this year, and on the road they've hit it in 60% of their games. When Liberatore pitches, yes, it's a little bit different, only like 43% of the season, but when on the road, 2 of his 3 starts, they have hit the over, and so that's obviously good to see. Chris Sanchez, on the other hand, they've hit the under more times when he pitches, but when at home, 3 of his 4 starts have gone over. So yes, I do like the over in this spot. I'd probably still give the Philadelphia team the edge offensively against Liberatore, so maybe them first 5 run line could be something to consider. But yeah, I've talked for 90% of what we talked about in this game, the over. Probably going to look at that Philly and Cardinals game over. If we can get 7.5 for anything in the minus 120s, I think that is something that is strongly being considered on my end. The only hang-up is, again, the pitching, right? Like, these are 2 pitchers with some pretty good numbers in general. But, if we get to the bullpens, I'm not all that afraid of, I guess, either side. So, yeah, I think 8 runs in this game could do it. Real quick, guys, before we do move on with the rest of the show, I want to shout out the merch we have here on the channel. I have the Fade Me Athletics trucker hat on right now. It is backwards, so you can't see it. But I also have the newly launched Don't Fear the Under tee. We have a ton of other stuff over on the storefront, GuyBostonSports.com/store or FadeMe.store. Those will both get you into the same exact place, the same storefront over on the Fade Me shop. If you do want to support us and pick up some great merch at the same time, head over there. You can use code MONDAY, MONDAY, spelling bee champ. You'll get 10% off today. So go ahead and check it out. Again, GuyBostonSports.com/store or FadeMe.store. Pick up some merch. It helps support us, but you also get some great merch at the same time. I tell you guys all the time, this is not just taking a crappy blank t-shirt, slapping a logo on it and saying, hey, here, you guys go buy it. No, we put a lot of time and effort into samples, designs, quality. Like, this is a legitimate quality tee that we spent a lot of time picking, right? So go ahead and check it out. Again, GuyBostonSports.com/store or FadeMe.store if you do want to support us and get some great merch at the same time. Use code MONDAY today and you'll save 10% off. Now let's get back to the games. Next up, we have the Mets taking on Pittsburgh. So I originally wanted to kind of work towards a first 5 under because we have Skeens on the mound for Pirates, so hopefully he could cancel out the great Mets offense. And then we have David Peterson on the mound for the Mets, and obviously hoping that he can, do well against this Pittsburgh offense. But I don't think that I can fully get there because it is so low in the price we're paying, and obviously the Mets being that good, right? I think you're okay on the Pittsburgh side of things, but I will say he does struggle, David Peterson, against righties. There's a ton of righties in the lineup today. I want to say it's like 7 of the 9 in the projected lineup today, righties. And overall, what if they put up a couple and then the Mets just do their thing? Paul Skeens is very good, but the Mets are also very good. So sticking away from it, that still is where I'm going to go. There's not enough there for me to really justify an over or anything like that because, again, good pitcher on one side against a really good offense, that probably cancels out to some degree. And then bad offense against a pitcher that may struggle. I do think Peterson could struggle today. So the one thing that I kind of look at is a potential, and guys, again, this is a potential look at a plus money play of Pittsburgh. And honestly, we don't really do this very often, but it's going to be a reverse run line. Pittsburgh minus 0.5 in the first 5 for plus 150. This is because if Skeens goes out there and deals, Peterson maybe has a little bit of, struggle bus energy there, and we can get up, 2-0 or 3-2 in the first 5 for plus 150. I do think that is a fair spot. If you're looking at them just on the money line to kind of put it in perspective, it's plus 105. So for 45 cents of value there, we're looking at Pittsburgh to potentially be leading after the first 5. I don't necessarily mind. Now, if we were to roll with that, it probably is a quarter unit play or something like that. But ultimately, yeah, I think there's regression come from Peterson, and we know Skeens is an absolute dog. So that's how I'm going to kind of potentially play this one. Mets have looked pretty good offensively, so if you're thinking, oh my God, you're crazy, yeah, I can kind of see that. But give me the first 5 under as well as Pittsburgh and the first 5 run line, but it's reverse run line. They're getting plus 0.5. I'm saying if we were to roll with this, we might be looking at the minus 0.5. But again, we have to rely on that offense. That's kind of tough. So another spot, now that I even say it out loud, right? What if we took a peek at, the Mets under 1.5 in the first 5 for plus money as well? I don't have the odds up in front of me, but if that's anything like plus 130, plus 125, that could be worth considering. All right, Braves taking on Washington. I do like the first 5 under in this one, and honestly, it does have a good chance of being a final play. Let me tell you why. So, Jake Irvin on the mound, who's been pretty damn good on the road this year, going up against Grant Holmes, who has been better at home, no pun intended, than he has, on the road. Now, you do have Washington, who does hit the fastball and cutter really well, and that's going to make up just about 50% of Grant Holmes' pitch mix. The thing is yes, they have really high runs above average ratings there, but they're the number one team in the last 30 days here in terms of ground ball to fly ball rate of hitting ground balls. So I do think that, we keep the ball on the ground here today, and the slider being that next pitch for Grant Holmes, Washington dead last in the league in terms of runs above average. So if he keeps the fastball and cutter on the ground and the slider swing and miss type of opportunities, I think Grant Holmes can make it through 5 innings pretty damn well here against a Washington team that does not hit righties all that well. Flip it over to Jake Irvin. Like I said, kind of a mix and match worthy of a season, right? I don't want to necessarily give him too much praise, but take too much away from him. He's had some good starts and some kind of meh starts. The team is 4-1, and if Washington wins this one, I think it is because it's a low-scoring game, but it's coming off of a pretty decent start in which, Cleveland scored a bunch of runs in that game, but it was not him. He pitched nearly 6 innings of 2 earned run baseball. No strikeouts, did allow some guys on base. So, again, pretty good start, but not the best. But what I'd like to see here is the fact that he's going to throw a lot of the curve, which 29th in terms of runs above average, the Braves rank. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs, 18th. So 2 bottom half and nearly bottom stats there for his 2 main pitches. If he goes to the slider, okay, they hit that, okay. If he goes to the changeup, they hit that really well as well. But this is a Braves team that I'm hoping he can keep the ball on the ground as well. And for what it's worth, now, you could take these numbers and trends and go any which way with them, but 2 of his 3 starts on the road, he's hit the under here in the first 5, and it's under 5.5 right now. 1 against Pittsburgh, okay, but 1 against Colorado I deem pretty impressive, and then Philadelphia, he didn't. Philadelphia is an awesome offense, so yeah, I think this could be a good spot. And then Grant Holmes, from a home-away split perspective, 3-1 to the first 5 under in terms of hitting this when pitching at home. So yeah, I like the first 5 under in this spot. -152 for the under 5.5. You can go plus money if you want the 4.5. I'd probably pay the juice to be able to, swallow a 3-2 game after 5. So I think that has the value to me. If I were to pick a side here, it seems like the way I'm explaining it could be a 50-50 type toss-up, right? So I'm going to lean towards the Nationals. I really don't think I get that down myself, but I think there's enough arguments to be made that for plus 170, that's probably the side. But you'd probably look at first 5 innings even then, because this Nationals bullpen stinks out loud. You know what I mean? So nothing that I'm really, willing to throw down to go 7, 8, 9 in terms of those innings. I'd probably just looking at the first 5, and if Irvin has a good game, maybe he'll pitch into the 6th. All right, Cubs taking on Miami. Colin Ray on the mound going up against Cal Quantrill. This would be a spot in which I'd consider Cubs team total over. I believe we have some pretty bad weather there in Chicago, which, as weird as it may be, we've had a lot of success this year. When I say a lot, we've hit it a couple times, of taking Cubs team totals over, when we're getting that good line with the runs. The problem is I believe you have to go over 4.5, which we've kind of sniped those 3.5s when there's wind blowing directly in and whatnot. So if we can get 3.5, I don't think we can. That's at -200 right now. But if somehow wind ups and these lines move, maybe I'd consider that, because I do think that they have the pitching advantage, offensive advantage, pretty much advantage all the way around, right? Bullpen as well, even though that's probably where Miami has them at least close. But Cal Quantrill, not all that great. You look at his numbers against this Cubs team, 80 plate appearances against, so they've seen him a decent amount, 16.3% K rate, but a 9% walk rate, average against of 406, a WOBA of 432, slugging 412. So I do think that we could have, a Cubs sort of get on base and score fest. Maybe not many home runs, but we could see a lot of hits today, which, now that I say that out loud, why don't we take a peek? And I don't have this up, so you guys are going to find out at the same time that I do of what Cal Quantrill's hits line is, because if it's 4.5, 5.5, okay. Let's see, 4.5 for -170, just outside of a range that we'd like. I don't mind the 5.5 for, what is that, +120, but I do think the Cubs can kind of hit him up today. Last time they saw him last year, only 4 hits, but that was through 2 1/3. So, yeah, the thing with hits props and anything you take negative on pitchers, it's tough because you want that over number to hit, but if they just get to him through like 2 innings, sometimes you don't necessarily get there. But I would consider Cal Quantrill over in hits, Cubs team total over, and then them also on the first 5 run line, which right now, updated odds on the first 5, so -0.5 in the first 5, meaning they have to be winning by 1 run. You're going to be taking a peek at -140 odds. That is digestible, but everything seems pretty damn pricey in this game, doesn't it? And I guess we're in a similar situation here. Texas taking on Colorado. Now, Texas's offense really did put together what I would consider a impressive series. And yeah, they might not have had like a great, was it game one or something, but they only lost that one 2-1. They played pretty well. That was Patrick Corbin and Scooble pitting on masterclasses. But then they scored 10 runs in game two and 6 runs in game three against Detroit. Colorado also put up 9 runs in 2 of their 3 against San Diego. I think that's worth noting, but it was with the elevation. So yeah, I don't think that this is a spot to say, hey, Colorado's offense is getting hot. But what I will say is, going up against Chase Dollander here, who I've kind of been like watching him. I do like, especially when he's like on the road. He's obviously going to do a little bit better just in general. But Tyler Molly's been fantastic at home, and he's going to throw a bunch of fastballs. Colorado doesn't hit the fastball all that well. The one saving grace for this offense for Texas is we're going to see a lot of fastballs, which they're not that great at hitting, but then nearly 20% cutters from Dollander, and Texas likes to hit the cutter, 11th in the league this year. So if we can take a peek at potentially Texas team total over, maybe we get a little bit of momentum coming out of that, that Tigers series, right? And we can get a decent number there. So over, I want to say 4.5 is like maybe minus 115 last we looked. That could have some value. I think Texas could put up 5 runs today. But again, it is against Colorado. If they get up early, like I think Colorado's one of those teams, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think I'm pretty right. One of those teams where if you get like a 4-run lead and you're in say they're up 4-0, which wouldn't even catch a team total, right? You sit there and you're like, yeah, we can just kind of coast and win this game. We don't have to press to try and, cut them out. It's like you play Colorado, you play the White Sox. You can kind of accept your win early, and we've seen that already this year where teams, in the last couple innings aren't necessarily pressing, or they bring in some other guys to keep some guys healthy. That could be a situation here. But I would say from a total perspective, I'll take the over just because I think Texas could have a good game. And then Texas first 5 run line, but you're really not going to get much value there. We considered, let's see, we did have a player prop. I believe it was an under on the Rockies side of things. If we can find it. Mike Toglia, who, we haven't really taken, I think, all but one time this year. I don't mind his under. This is plus money, but he's going to get the fastball, splitter, and cutter. And yes, he's obviously a guy that can get on base and whatnot, but under 0.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for plus 115, not a bad value. Now, I'm a big under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, guys. You know that. But for the plus money, not exactly something that I'm not liking, if that makes sense, right? So, yeah, maybe we take a peek at Mike Toglia. Houston taking on Kansas City. Gusto on the mound going up against Michael Wacha. I would say that Michael Wacha, is starting to maybe shape into form now. He's had a good game against Houston already this year, and then his last good game was against the White Sox. 7 innings, 0 earned runs, 5 Ks, 1 walk, just 3 hits. But it was against the White Sox. Gusto on the other side of things has not faced Kansas City this year, but he's got a decent little stat line, right? In terms of his starts, 2 flat ERA, but a 2.93 ERA. At home, he's been pretty good. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs, which Kansas City's kind of just middle of the pack against. He has a pretty decent pitch mix after that. Changeup, curve, slider, sinker, cutter, all making up, I would say 10%, making up the 50% there. Walk is going to throw a lot of fastballs. Houston does hit the fastball well. Ultimately, I think you have 2 decent pitchers on the mound, but maybe Kansas City's offense is, gonna bounce back because they've been so bad for so long, and they've been so bad that you almost have to think at some point, like I've been saying, they're going to step it up. But what we can also say is that Houston's offense has looked okay, at least in that series against Cincinnati. I know they had a 9-run game and a 6-run game. I forget what they scored in game number 1. But if you have 2 decent pitchers, 2 decent bullpens, Houston's is actually decent, pretty good bullpen, but one team's bats may be a little bit more consistent, that's the side that I'm going to ultimately end up leaning towards. So give me Houston on the money line here. Full game is fine with me. I think Michael Wacha could pitch a good game, so I don't think this is like an automatic, over, or Houston puts up a big number, but like a 4-3 win for Houston, or, 5-3, something like that could make sense. So I'll lean towards the under as well. I think this finishes right around maybe 8 or 7 runs, so very thin margin, but give me Houston as well as the under, and then no player props as of right now in this one. But I think both pitchers could be in decent spots, so if we do add anything, I'll make sure to kind of note it down in the final plays there when you follow the pinned comment, just because, yes, I think that this could be a spot where Michael Wacha pitches okay. Gusto pitches okay, and we have a low-scoring game, meaning there's a lot of players out there that potentially don't, really have much opportunity to score or get hits, that type of thing. So if we add anything, I'll make sure to explain why I like it and my reasoning and rationale. Recording this after the fact, we did find a player prop this, so I could just give my reasoning and rationale here without having to go and put it in the post. Victor Caratini here, he is, potentially not, I don't know if he's in the confirmed lineup or anything yet, but obviously if he doesn't play, this will end up getting voided. But I do like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs pretty much for exactly what we said. He's not all that great against righties. Michael Wacha hoping he can do good against the left-handed bat here, but fastballs, his WOBA drops from what it is. Changeups and cutters, the next 2 pitches, his WOBA drops as well. So pretty much a situational against a right-handed pitcher. And the 3 pitches that we expect him to see, not all that tremendous against. In terms of hitting the under, he's hit it in 12 of 19 games so far this year. At home, 5 of 9, so a little bit, better, I guess, at home. But against right-handed pitchers, he's been pretty damn good against. And he's only played, I believe, against right-handed pitchers. So he's not, again, listed in the expected line today, but we do have lines for him. So maybe he does get the go. San Diego taking on the Angels, and I really wanted to get to the under team total for the Angels. It's at 2.5 right now. 2.5 and 3.5 are 2 massive different numbers here for this Angels team, I would say. So I guess I would say a little worried about that. But again, for plus 105, I do think that 2.5 could be a nice little look. Michael King on the mound for San Diego. I expect him to pitch pretty well. He throws fastball, sinker, slider, changeup, all pretty much 25% of the time. Sinker being the only pitch the Angels even have a prayer of hitting. He's got really good numbers historically against them. Only 33 plate appearances, but you know what? 33% K rate, 6% walk rate, and 0.67 average against, 0.98 expected batting average against, WOBA 129, expected WOBA 154, and X slugging 128. So again, Wacha could be in a very, very good situation here. I think, we could consider, again, for plus money, taking a peek at that. I don't mind they're under 1.5 in the first 5. That's pretty much backing, Wacha, but we are paying a decent price at minus 150 for it. So again, do we like paying that price? Baseball's a different animal than NBA and NFL and whatnot. I would probably say this, and at least my dumb brain is like we have it actually mapped out to like a 168 price. So yeah, we're getting 14 cents of value, at least on our end. So maybe we consider something like that, right? Because I do think Michael King is going to have a good game, essentially is what I'm saying. This Angels team, their bats aren't great. Their bats aren't great against righties. And again, those pitches fit well. On the other side of things, though, you do have Yusei Kikuchi, who I do think is a good pitcher. This San Diego team has had their ups and downs against lefties this year. He's really good against lefty bats, which, Jackson Merrill, Arias, you have Cronenworth there, but some of those big power bats, if we're talking Tatis or Machado or even Bogarts for, I shouldn't say power, just good bats in their lineup, are righties in which Kikuchi has really, really struggled against this year. And the slider specific is a pitch that those guys I just talked about hit really well. So that's why I'm kind of saying, okay, well, maybe we just go team total under for the Angels, because I almost wanted to take an under or first 500 trusting Kikuchi, but he's been bad on the road. He's bad against righties. There's a lot of way that the Padres could score some runs today, right? And with this total being way down there, it makes me kind of think that, yeah, maybe we do have a decent performance out of the Padres, but almost nothing from the Angels. Now, in terms of what we have at Petco, so I believe we have drastic wind coming into from left to right field throughout the whole game, like 12 mile an hour. But maybe is this like a Wrigley Cubs situation in which we get kind of lucky, and maybe we could say, okay, well, what about a San Diego team total over? Yes, there is wind, but if they get on base, over 3.5 could be the move, right? So maybe we're just playing 2 ships passing in the night. Team total under for the Angels, team total over for the Padres, and we call it a day there. From a player prop perspective, right? We do have plenty of spots we can go from from an under perspective when it comes to the Angels. The problem being anything that we're really looking at is going to be either really juiced or at 0.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. So guys like Luis Rengifo and Jorge Soler, even Nato, I think that these could be good spots to take some unders on just based on Michael King. But if we're going to take unders on some of the better names offensively for the Angels, I think we might as well take that under, 1.5 in the first 5. All right, we got Seattle taking on the Yanks. Hancock on the mound for Seattle, going up against Clark Schmidt, who was, I think, scheduled to start, and then Yarbaugh went yesterday, right, for the Yankees here. Clark Schmidt, few starts under his belt, hasn't looked great, hasn't looked all that bad either. I would say that game against San Diego was a decent spot from him. That was the game in which, San Diego was winning, and then the Yankees score was 10 runs in 1 inning. Emerson Hancock, though we've kind of ragged on him multiple times, has some just middle-of-the-pack numbers, which I don't think is all that terrible. Now, he's going up against an offense like the Yankees. That can be a little worrisome, but Going to the slider as a second pitch could be pretty damn big for him today. He does struggle at home, and in terms of, what we've seen from him against his Yankee squad is not all that much, only 5 plate appearances against. So, yeah, I think for the plus 120, there's an argument to be made for Seattle here, but when push comes to shove with the offense, I do think I'm going to trust the Yankees. So I like the Yankees on the money line here, but it is one of those spots where I'm like, you could definitely make the argument for this, for Seattle and Hancock, but ultimately you look at this Yankees squad and it's like they've scored double digits in 3 of their last 5 games. 2 of the games have been 7 and 4 runs. They are putting up some decent numbers here. Seattle being a pitcher's ballpark, I get it, but still, for what do we have the Yankees at right now for best odds? Like minus 145 just seems a little bit too good to be true in a sense, right? And even if we wanted to make an argument for Clark Schmidt, he's going to throw the knuckle curve, the slider. Seattle doesn't hit either of those all that well. The cutter they do hit well. I'll give them credit there. And they are good against righties, but he's pretty damn good against righty bats. And, we're going to see some of those bigger, obviously, some of those bigger bats in the lineup. Arizona, Rodriguez, some of those bats that we can be afraid of. He's going to pitch pretty well against. So this is probably, I guess I would say an over because I don't want to put full trust into Clark Schmidt, but it's either over, Yankees money line, or what is the Yankees team total right now? Is it 4.5? I would say if it's 4.5 at plus 100, that's a little enticing, actually. Yankees against the Seattle team have been averaging 4.8 dating back to last year. They've hit the over in just 18 of 40, so that's not all that great. 9 of 19 on the road, so maybe we do stick away from that, but they are coming off of a really good road series of scoring. So Yankees over, and then team total over. Moving on to San Francisco taking on Arizona, and I would say first spot that I look at is tried and true Arizona team total over 3.5. Now we have Verlander on the mound going up against Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly's been okay on the road. Verlander has been, I guess, the best okay at home. Now, I do like Verlander, and I would say that we went through a little stretch of him starting to look like himself, right? And then he faced Colorado and didn't pitch all that poorly, but then he went up against the Cubs and didn't have his best stuff, which it's the Cubs, right? But this is also Arizona, and I think Arizona's obviously a very good team, and they scored, 1 run in their last game. That was against LA. I think that they're looking for some serious runs here today. And San Francisco, I don't think that they're going to really get to Kelly all that much. Both teams have seen these pitchers plenty, and both pitchers have some good numbers against them. So why do I like Arizona team total over? Well, we're going to see pretty much making up almost 85% of the pitches that Verlander will throw, and it has been for a long time, fastball slider. Last 30 days in terms of runs above average per 100 pitches seen, 5th are the Astros ranked against the fastball, and 3rd against the slider. The whole top of the order is good at hitting both of those. So you have Carroll, Marte, Naylor, you name it, they hit the fastball and slider well. I think that we could see some decent, spot for Arizona just to go get 4 runs. The reason I'm not going money line is because I think San Francisco could have a somewhat of a respectable game against Merrill Kelly and then potentially against this Arizona bullpen that if you looked at their rankings of ERA and WHIP throughout the year, like they are bouncing around, which kind of screams volatility to me. I would say that they are a good bullpen, but not trustworthy. So again, volatile. So yeah, I think the way that I do this is saying, okay, well, I like Arizona. I think Arizona's the spot. They're coming off of a loss. Not like they had to travel far, ultimately, right? Because they were actually, well, I guess not having to travel far either way, but I forget if they were home or away against the Dodgers. In fact, we should probably have that up. They're home against the Dodgers. Okay, fine. Still not all that much of a travel, right? Whereas San Francisco comes back home after being in Minnesota, washed there. I think that Arizona can go out there and score, but do I trust Merrill Kelly? To some degree, yes, and to some degree, no. Meaning, let me just trust the offense. Go get 4 runs for us today. Verlander could have a decent game, but I still think he can allow 2 through the first 5-6 innings, and then Arizona hopefully can put up somewhat of a good number in those later innings because a lot of guys pitched. I think 5 guys pitched in the bullpen yesterday for San Francisco. So, yeah. Arizona team total over. Seems simple. Don't want to overthink it. Guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Keep dropping your plays down in the comments. I say it in like every video, right? You guys are blowing me away with some of these awesome plays. And I love the fact that, when you ride with someone in the comments, we're having a lot of people come back and be like, hey, I rode with you. Good play and all that. And it's like, yes, give credit where it is due because there's some bangers down in the comments. But keep doing that stuff. I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.